Alright, back home in the garage now, and got all the parts here. Ended up grabbing these finned exhaust flanges and some acorn nuts while I was down at Sport Wheels, and got these little guys. That little pesky f***er fell between my seats, I'll have to go grab it. And we got these guys home. So these wheels come from a 77 CB750A, the automatic model, and they had spoked wheels like a lot of other CBs did, but these ones were aluminum and they have this nice wide flange on them, so they have kind of a different look, and I think when they're cleaned up it's gonna really look nice on the bike. Of course, I'm not going to use these tires, but it'll still be handy for mock-up. And it says turbo on it. Can't go wrong with a tire that says turbo on it. Heater just shut off, nice. The front wheel is a little bit different though. A little concerned about it. I went to go check and see if the brake rotor was the same as my old front wheel, figuring I might have to swap the original rotor onto this to get it to work. But this is a 6-bolt, whereas the Comstar is a 5-bolt. Now, one other difference you might already know or have noticed is that the speed sensor is on the disc brake side on the Comstar that I had on my bike, whereas this, it is not. It is on the other side. Now, my bike is a 79K model, so it should have had the Comstars on it, but it did for some reason. So this might be right and that might be wrong. I'm going to have to do a little more research. Worst comes to worst, I can go back down to the junkyard, and the bike that I pulled this exact rim off of had the forks on it. So I could take the forks and triple trees off of that bike, rebuild them, and then I'd have a known compatibility there. But I think we're going to be able to make this work. It shouldn't be too much of a big deal. And yeah, so now I'm going to clean these guys up a bit, and then it's time to get this thing back together for what will hopefully be just about the final time before it gets torn apart, goes to powder coat and paint. Let's do it! Alright, I got all the parts laid out. The heater's gonna start. Alright, I got all the parts laid out, and there's a few differences between the 750A and the 750K wheel. The speed sensor is not on the same side as the disc. So, first thing I want to check, I grabbed the fork from my CB and the caliper, and I'm going to mount the fork to the axle here and see if the brake caliper fits, see if the spacing is right. So that'll be the first step. If the spacing is right, then we'll have to see if the overall width is going to be the same. And if that's the case, then it should bolt in. If not, we have some work to do.
This is a Ryan Little production.
Alright, so, no go. The fork that was on my bike, the caliper side, because it just had a single disc front, single brake front. When it bolts onto here, it hits the brake rotor. So, could be solved with a brake rotor with a different offset, which I can see if the rotor on the Comstar has a different offset from the hub, but that then would have to be drilled because that's a 5-bolt, whereas this is a 6-bolt. So that's not super hard to do, but that's just one part of the process. I think the solution I'm going to end up having to do, though, is to get another wheel and get a 79 CB750 wire wheel up front and use the hub from that, because that will bolt to the setup that I have. And I think that's going to be a solution. I mean, I'm planning on taking the wheel apart anyways and polishing the rim and having the hub powder coated. So looks like we ran into a little bit of a hurdle here, but still think we can keep jamming. Alright, so I took off the disc brake here and gonna put the forks in the frame and see if the front wheel will bolt on, see if this axle spacing is right and everything. If it is, then at least I can get the bike back together, continue the mock-up process, and once these wheels come apart to get refinished, then I can just swap the hub out to the 750K model, and all should be well. So hopefully this will work. We'll find out pretty soon here.